Darklight is an indie game that was developed and published through an entity known as Mirari and Company. I believe that this is the debut game coming from them due to the fact that according to their official website, they simply just carried themselves as a company helping to assist their clients in a number of things, such as TVC concept design and directing, channel rebranding, and also 2D and 3D motion graphic, animations, VFX design, and post-production. Their clients stem from HBO associations, with their works being contributed to commercials for companies like Lipton and shows like Westwood and even Game of Thrones. They really have a very diverse palette of visual styles that they incorporate for their clients, and I strongly suggest that you check out their services and their portfolio of presentations. What's more impressive is their ability to produce with such a small number of people, well, at least according to LinkedIn. So yeah, I provide links to their social media and official website so you can check out and see what I'm talking about. Darklight is what seemingly is the next sensible endeavor for Mirari and Company. They already have the animation down to a science, so it's understandable. I wouldn't even be surprised if inevitably they began creating their own full-fledged series of movies. Maple Whispering helped publish this indie title, who also published noticeable indie games like Sparklight, Cloudpunk, One Step from Eden, and one I recently started playing called Astral Ascent. For today's review of Darklight, I'll be rocking out with the PlayStation version, so let's get into it. Now when playing Darklight, the plot is almost as cryptic as a Souls-like game to a certain extent, but this is what I can gather from the bits and pieces here and there. So apparently in this post-apocalyptic world dwell these special units known as Dark Hunters. These are like the special militia of warriors that was created to combat these creatures from the Dark Void. And what the Dark Void is essentially a portal leading to like another plane of existence, or just another area where monsters keep pretty much jumping out of. And seeing as though this world finds itself within the state that it's in, one can safely assume that the humans aren't doing so well in the terms of the fight against the Dark Void creatures. Actually, it's gotten so bad that the creatures have begun claiming dominion over zones, whilst the humans are forced to live underground or in camps trying to survive, which they are barely hanging on as is. Since the other Dark Hunters are either permanently out of commission or simply nowhere to be found at the moment, this heavy responsibility lies on the main character to find some way somehow to close the Dark Void, stop these monsters, and somehow bring humanity back from the brink of extinction. The presentation of Darklight is what would happen if you took the aesthetics of a Doom game and have it made love to a metroidvania. That is probably the only way that I can describe it. The atmosphere of this game's decrepit and disturbing environment is something I can honestly say has elements that I've not seen within the medium that has been blended together like this. But if I could break down certain parts individually, I will be able to see what probably helped influence Darklight's art direction. Each monstrosity that you run up against is like a horrifying combination of demons fused with technology. Like these big guys, for example, running around with these huge machine guns and shields. It's kind of hard to tell if these abominations were ever human to begin with, or if they're just supernatural creatures, or even probably aliens. Speaking of technology, when I first started playing on the first few levels and became acquainted with the home base, I remember seeing these creepy, advanced yet abandoned structures that resemble machines looking like humans decaying, or severely incapacitated. I mean, just pure death, almost like the aftermath of a multitude of crises was just taking place on a biblical scale. You see, what could have been a city once upon a time is nothing but a cold landscape of emptiness, reminiscent of how the world looked like when Neo woke up in the real world in that first Matrix movie. After you picture that, now imagine it being inhabited by some unholy creatures. Now I was just talking about the industrial environments at the beginning of the game, but my eyes really opened up once I found myself located within Dante's Inferno. Corpses everywhere and rivers look like it's made purely out of blood. Yeah, we definitely in hell now. Darklight also reminded me of this film that we over here at dyxnt saw one time. It's an indie film that went by the name of Mad God. It's almost as if somebody saw that movie and out of admiration loosely based this game off of that film. Now that I think about it, some of these inhabitants that roam about in this harsh and brutal world actually could be aliens. One of the reasons I say this is due to the architecture found in various settings. And as far as the levels, everything is dark with neon colors, giving away some of the most unforgettable scenery and style this game has to offer. Now let's talk about the animations. I believe that the designs and how your main character moves around and swings his weapon is crisp and smooth. Definitely smoother than some of the enemies that you come across because some of them feel like they're missing a frame or two sometimes. But as far as the visuals, I can tell that a lot of work was placed into just perfecting the fluidity and quality of the main character's movement, not to mention some of the visual effects on some of your weapons. Darklight is a single-player metroidvania that has you going back and forth through different sections of areas, fighting bosses, rescuing other people, and unlocking pathways that leads to other areas. However, as you can imagine, it's not going to be a task that's a simple stroll in the park. You'll see yourself running into various types of enemies that want nothing more to just destroy you. But what you'll have in your arsenal should be enough if you're wise, vigilant, and combat ready. So, what exactly do you have to work with? Let's start off with your movement. You'll be able to move left or right on this two-dimensional plane, dodge roll to avoid incoming attacks, and the ability to double jump. As far as your ability to defend yourself, you'll have weapons that you'll possess and pick up along the way that will more than help assist you. There are 4 types of weapons that you'll become familiar with. The first being your weapons for short range attacks. This will be your blades, such as two-handed or single-handed swords, hammers, and etc. Each comes with their own type of unique moves that you can do as well. For example, this two-handed greatsword can give you this windmill action when you're attacking an enemy in the air. Or like how this sword right here can see you do a scaled down version of a breathing technique, kind of similar to that guy from that anime, what's the name of it? Oh yeah, right, Demon Slayer. Attacking, depending on the character's position, can result into different outcomes along with attributes that can be modified via these gems that you'll discover. Darklight also follows the trope of any Souls game, which is the obligatory stamina bar. That's right folks, dodge rolling or swinging any enemy is guaranteed to deplete your stamina bar gauge, which is located here directly up under your health bar. When you run out of that, you can't attack or do anything except for, well, retreat for a brief moment until your stamina bar comes back after a few seconds. That is, if you can survive that long. The second type of weapons that I want to talk about are your guns, which is essentially serves as your projectiles, perfectly utilized for long range attacks. Your guns, just like the rest of your weapons, all come in various types. But one thing you have to be mindful of is that your ammo isn't unlimited, so be mindful of the bullets that you utilize. The third types of weapons are your disposable, one-time use weapons such as your grenades, turrets, and many more. Each of these items and weapons comes with their own individual different classes and has different stats which you can upgrade at the cargo base, which serves as this game's home base where you can purchase and upgrade your character. The last weapon, which really isn't a weapon per se but has a limited use, are your special skills. Purchase items and essentially level up your character so that he can survive more difficult battles to come. However, just like anything, you'll have to purchase it with currency which is obtained by defeating monsters. They tend to drop it whenever they are defeated, along with bullets, gear, and other things that can help heal you. But it's not just items and weapons you'll have to be mindful of, but also your gear. You see, all parts of your body can have equipment that grants you various boosts within your stats. Next, let's talk about the traversal. In the world of Darklight, as I stated before, it is broken down into different zones or areas, each with their own theme, bosses, and quests to do. But in order for you to recognize where to go, you must first realize where you are. When you pop open a world map, you will see what I mean by the different areas. If anybody was forced to travel solely on foot, this game would be unnecessarily long. To help remedy such a chore, you can come across these portals which you can use to fast travel to other far off areas, put away items and weapons you want to hang on to for later, exchange these things into currency, or pretty much just rest. But please keep in mind that when you do decide to rest, your health is replenished, but all those enemies that you got rid of, well, they'll just come back as if nothing ever happened. Besides these portals, you'll become familiar with other types of gateways that will transport you to specific areas of interest or in short distances. When it comes to exploration, my advice is to try and observe every nook and cranny of an area so you can completely uncover all that there is to explore via the map. This is a metroidvania after all, and backtracking is actually one of the elements that comes along with it. So just to be on the safe side, yep, please explore everything that you possibly can within the area. Now let's talk about the meat and potatoes of Darklight, which is actually the combat, or rather the monsters and things that will be handing you your behind every now and then. I should have said this within the presentation section, but looking at these monsters, they're definitely something ripped from its various inspirations. One of my favorites are these alien xenomorph creatures that will run around with the ability to turn invisible or teleport as if they were predators or something. But it isn't just these creatures that go invisible, but other monsters as well, so just be on your guard before one surprises you. On that note, don't think that you can utilize the same tactic on one monster for all of the other monsters, because you will be looking at the game over screen a lot. Some enemies will require some thought. For example, some monsters will have shields that'll block you, with the only secure method of defeating them is to get behind them and attack. Some other creatures will be forced back within their lesser form for you to just stomp on, and if you don't do that within an amount of time, expect a round 2. Now let's talk about the weapons that they're going to be using against you. In the beginning, of course, you fight against those who look human. Oftentimes, they pack nothing but guns and probably like some short blades here and there. Then later on, you come across behemoths with machine guns going Rambo. And it's not only the enemies that you have to be cautious of, but your environment as well, because your environment and where you are can do you in if you're not careful. Spikes will kebab you, energy balls will one-shot you, guillotines will try to chop you in half, and don't you dare jump off a cliff when you're unaware of its bottom. Please keep in mind that when all of your health is depleted, your extra items and things that you collected so far will be left behind. So after you respawn, you can go back and reacquire them. I mean, if you can. Overall, Dark Light is a fun and straightforward game to play. It really becomes fun once you start upgrading your character. But until then, here are some helpful advice. 1. Do not rush because you can run into a trap. 2. Always upgrade when possible. 3. Get a few weapons that you like and start investing into them. 4. If you face off a tough enemy, preferably a boss who is on ground level, do not be stingy with the turrets or items that can cause burns like grenades if you have them on you. They are your friends and they'll help you, especially if you, and this goes into our fourth and last piece of advice, study your enemies' attack patterns to better maneuver through them, so you can take advantage of their weak points and time your attack appropriately. When it comes to Dark Light, it's a whole lot of things you got to take under consideration when playing. For instance, I didn't even talk about the different factions that you can join in which you can do missions and favors for, just for you to obtain more abilities with this skill tree when you meet certain requirements. And also these random pole things that give you temporary boosts. You see, Dark Light has a lot of things going for it from its gameplay, and really, we're kind of shocked that not too many people are talking about this title, in which they should. But yeah, this game is very awesome to play, and the controls are very easy to understand. But just be careful when you're exploring. That's all. The music of Dark Light sounds alright, I guess, but that's just if you're listening to the same dreary background song that is on constant repeat. If you was judging all of the music of Dark Light based on this one song, then yeah, it's kind of a drag. But luckily, that ain't the case. While doing this review, Mirari and company, who produced the music for Dark Light, dropped this mix out of nowhere onto their YouTube page, in which I actually do recommend you to go ahead and take a listen to because they come with the fire on this one. If you're really into dark, heart-pumping electronic house music, then this is pretty much for you. I will most certainly include a link to it, you can listen to it for yourself. My only criticism about the music is that, well, during the gameplay, it feels like the music is there, but oftentimes it can come off as being really quiet. And what's really making the most noise in its place is the sound design that is front row and center for the most part. And while we're talking about that, Dark Light sound design is really on point. Hitting your enemy, especially with a heavy weapon, provides this heavy, crunchy sound that is satisfying. Especially when you can hear and see it tear into your enemy's flesh. Then whenever you open fire on these monsters with your firearms, the bullets and recoils feels like it has this, well, it's like this, I'll let you hear it. But yeah, if you have surround sound, I would definitely play this. Darklight is one of those metroidvania games that we would recommend checking out. The visual aesthetics alone, not to mention the level of details in the animation, is pretty much what sold us on it. Plus, we also love seeing the updates about this title on Twitter, aka X, which would pop up on our timeline way before we got our hands on this title. Now when playing this, there would be some moments where we ourselves would get a tad bit lost, and moments where the difficulty could go from 0 to 1000 and how severe the onslaught of monsters would pop up on you, and even chase you if you try to run away from them. Overall, we enjoyed Darklight, and what's even more exciting, that seemingly not too long ago we're going to be blessed with a sequel. The name is going to be entitled Darklight Survivors, and honestly, just based off of the trailer alone, it looks like they did a one-up on the visuals and boldly builds upon the fundamentals established in terms of gameplay. Not only that, they also exhibit advancing their perspectives in their shift from 2D to full-on 3-dimensional as a third person and isometric perspectives, which you can shift in between in gameplay at will. They even switched up on genres. Say goodbye to Metroidvania and hello to roguelite. We're pretty much looking forward to this if you can't tell, and if we were to guess, we'll say that the sequel is probably a prequel taking place before things went to hell in the Darklight game that we were reviewing today. So if you are interested in this, you can go ahead and wishlist this now on Steam. But anyway, Darklight is now available for Steam for Mac and PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, and Nintendo Switch for about $19. And until next time, be safe out there, and peace y'all.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit up that notification bell, and I gotta go.